Welcome back to our quest to understand the Bible. And we're in this part of the quest where we're looking at the Gospel of John. I've, I'm encouraging you to spend time in John, months in John, and every time you read through it, highlight new words, new phrases, pick up on new threads, and understand the movement and the textures and what's going on in John's Gospel. It's just a fascinating book. Now, I've asked you to look at a few words and a phrase: the word sign, the word believe, the word life, and the phrase I am. I want to share with you just a little insight about this phrase I am. Now, you're going to see that 90 plus times in the Gospel of John. Some of it's going to be fairly simple, innocent kind of statements. Jesus saying something like, I am not going to the feast at this time. Or a woman saying, I am a Samaritan. So you're going to run into that. But you're going to run into some use of this phrase, actually a lot of times, where Jesus has packed that word with a lot of information. One of those is in John chapter 8. As an example, let me just show you that. In John chapter 8, in verse 58, Jesus is having a discussion with the Jews, or an interaction with the Jews. It's one of those testy exchanges. You might kind of relate it to the media interviewing the president of our country right now. Just always going to be testy. But that's what it was like with Jesus and these Jewish leaders. And Jesus makes a statement to them. He says, I tell you the truth, before Abraham was born, I am. Now that's that phrase, I am. But what you're probably picking up on is, that's just kind of a strange statement. This is, Jesus is getting his verb tenses all mixed up. He doesn't know how to speak. And you read the next verse in verse 59, where the Jews, they hear that and they pick up stones and they want to throw these stones at Jesus to kill him. And you're like, what's going on with that? Are these like the grammar police? They're upset that Jesus doesn't know how to use verbs? Well, no, that's not what's going on. What's happening is Jesus is taking these Jews back to their history, which they know very well, when one of their great ancestors, a guy by the name of Moses, met God at a burning bush. And God is going to send Moses back to Egypt to help deliver people from the Israelites from bondage. And Moses doesn't want to go. And he says to God, he says, if I go, the people are going to ask me, who sent me? I don't even know what your name is. God says, well, I'll tell you my name. My name is I am. That's what Jesus is referring to. So when Jesus says, before Abraham was born, I am, what he is saying to those Jews, I am God. That's why they picked up the rocks. That's why they want to kill him, because nobody calls himself God. Well, when you read through this Gospel of John, Jesus is going to say a lot of things, make a lot of claims about who he is. He's going to say things like, I am truth. I am life. I'm the light of the world. I am resurrection. I am the only way to the Father. Those are pretty big statements. And so when you read these I ams, you find yourself learning who Jesus is. And you have to start asking yourself some questions. Now, why is this important? If you look at John chapter 20, this little summary statement at the end of John, almost at the end of John's gospel, he has this to say about why he wrote his gospel. Jesus performed many other signs, there's one of those words, in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe, that's another one of those words, that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. Now, that's not an I am statement, but it's a result of all these I am statements. It has led people to this, to know that Jesus is the Son of God. And that by believing, they may have life in his name. That's that fourth word. All these little phrases and words that I asked you to highlight, these four, John puts in this little summary statement at John chapter 20, verse 30 and 31. This is why it's important. You got to ask yourself when you read these I am statements in John's gospel, would you follow somebody like that? Would you believe in him? Would you do something? Would that move you to some kind of action, a new way of life? John wants you to when you read this gospel. And so when you read the gospel and you pick up on these threads, it's more than just an intellectual quest. It's a discovery about who you're going to be and who you're going to follow. All right? So be blessed. And we'll see you next week with some more on this little Gospel of John. Take care.